here, and welcome again to another edition of the Right Has Left podcast. I am your host, Roy Garton, where we love to talk about all things Trumpism and the Republican Party. We talk about Congress, we talk about the Senate, we talk about the Capitol, we talk about the White House, and of course, we obviously talk about Donald Trump. Why do we do that? Because the guy just gives us so much more material and than any other kind of news outlets, and we just love to see what's going on with him and take a deep dive into a lot of things that the mainstream media does not have the time to do or just chooses not to do. So we do a lot of digging throughout the week about what's going on in the Trump administration, and then we love to bring that news to you. So having said that, let's go ahead and get into our top story, which is basically going to be what's going on with this so-called memorandum of understanding between Iran and the United States, as Donald Trump does his best to try to bring the war over there to a close. And I'm not going to cover all the points, but I kind of want to basically touch on some highlights of it and then discuss a little bit because it's important to do so. So about the Iranian memorandum of understanding, you need to first, and I'm sure you already know this, but if you don't, it's just a 60-day ceasefire to start off with. It's not like the war is over, it's ended, although Donald Trump loves to say it was an unconditional surrender by Iran. It was not, but you know, that's Donald Trump. So on point one, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran and their allies in the current war, by signing this MOU, declare the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including Lebanon, and undertake from now on not to initiate any war or military operation against each other, and to refrain from the threat or use of force against each other, and ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. All right, we're going to stop right there because that's already been screwed up. As you're well aware of, Lebanon fired upon some Israeli tanks. 3 people were killed. Israel retaliated, and Bibi fired missiles on over to Lebanon, and there you go. So, you know, of course, Donald Trump immediately tried to step in, and he's been pissed off at Bibi anyway because of what's going on, because he doesn't listen to him, and, you know, these points were there, and of course, Iran got upset. So they were supposed to go overseas and sign all this. J.D. Vance was all ready to get on the jet and take care of this thing and sign it away because it was digitally signed already. And Iran said, not so fast, because of exactly what happened there. So it's already on murky waters. Now, the final deal will confirm the permanent termination of the war on all fronts, including Lebanon, and other provisions in this paragraph. Item 2, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran undertake to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and to refrain from interfering in each other's internal affairs. So what does this all mean? Well, it means that the Strait of Hormuz has been reopened. The U.S. has backed off some of its military naval fleet there, and things are starting to move through there very slowly, but it is starting to move. And immediately upon signing of this MOU, which it was done digitally but not in person, the United States of America will be in removal of its naval blockade and disturbance impeding against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and to fully end the naval blockade within 30 days. During this period, the traffic of vessels will be in proportion to the numbers of pre-war traffic being restored by the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States of America further undertakes to remove its forces from the proximity of the Islamic Republic of Iran within 30 days after this final deal. And we have already to start to do that. All right. So as this thing moves forward in the 60 days of ceasefire, here we go. Here's where the sticking points get in, and where the Democrats are starting to raise their eyebrows. The United States of America undertakes with the regional partners to develop a definitive, mutually agreed upon plan with at least United States dollars of $300 billion for the reconstruction and economic development of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Now, the mechanism for the implementation of this plan will be finalized as part of a final deal within 60 days. All required licenses, waivers, and permissions needed for the relevant financial transactions will be granted by the United States of America. And of course, J.D. Vance had to go on to a news presser and explain that. Of course, he says nothing, not one damn penny, will be given to Iran unless they behave themselves. It will not happen immediately. But we, again, what you see here that was publicly released to the media and what went on behind the scenes to get into this deal, we will never, ever, ever know. Donald Trump is desperate by all hell to get out of this thing with his hind end still attached because of the midterms coming up and the Republican Party going, oh dear God, please clean up this mess. Please do it now. And so we really are not privy to what internally has been going on. But as you saw, that I just gave you there, that's what it's basically saying. All right. So, moving on to some of these other, points here. Like I said, I don't want to read the whole damn thing, but let's go on. Item 9 here. Pending the final deal, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agreed to maintain the status quo. The Islamic Republic will maintain the current status quo in its nuclear program, and the United States of America will not impose any new sanctions and will not deploy additional forces in the region. The United States of America undertakes that immediately upon signing of this MOU and until the termination of sanctions, the United States Department of Treasury will issue waivers for the export of Iranian crude oil, petroleum products, and derivatives, and all associated services, including banking and transactions, insurances, transportation, and so on. And the United States of America undertakes to make fully available to the use of frozen or restricted funds and assets of the Islamic Republic of Iran upon the implementation of this MOU. There you go. See that? That was what the press was reading into. And the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran will mutually agree on the procedures related to the release of these funds during the negotiations. Such funds, whether retained in the original account or transferred, shall be fully usable for payments to any ultimate beneficiary designated by the Central Bank of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States of America undertakes to issue all necessary licenses and authorizations accordingly. Wow. So you see, it kind of looks like, hey, Iran, if you do what we ask you to do, you're going to get your billions and billions of dollars unfrozen and you can have it back again. But J.D. Vance says, no, it's not going to happen. They got to behave themselves. And again, this is a 60-day ceasefire is really all it is. All right. It's the same thing that Obama had that, Trump tore up. And, speaking of Obama, let's just stop right here. Congratulations to our former President Obama. He had a great opening of his museum and his presidential center. It's not really a presidential library. It's so much more than that. He is basically calling it a center. And here is a quick picture of it. It was on national TV. All the networks covered it, which pissed off Trump because the light wasn't on him for a while, and he gets upset when he's not on, in the front of the cameras 24/7 for something. So anyway, congratulations to him. All the former presidents that are still alive showed up there. Clinton, Bush, and Biden were there. Trump was not invited, obviously, because of his way he was talking about the things about his wife, which we'll get into here a little bit later on this podcast. But it was a pretty cool deal. So congratulations to Obama on that. So moving on, after signing this MOU and subject to the beginning of the implementations of paragraphs 1, 4, 5, 10, and 11 of this MOU and the continuing implementation of these measures, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran will start negotiations regarding the final deal exclusively on the other paragraphs. And the final deal of this will be endorsed by binding UNSC resolutions. Now, we were talking earlier about Obama, why Trump tore up his deal is because he said compare that to Obama, who released only $1.7 billion, which was $400 million in principal and $1.3 billion in interest, which settled a pre-1979 military arms dispute. Then Obama released $220 million in previously blocked foreign affairs humanitarian assistance aid to the Palestinian Authority. So, you know, that's why you saw the differences there. Trump is talking about a lot more money, as we have discussed. Now, you couple this with the unfrozen assets of Russia and of their oil. And of course, that has been restocking the military, which they in turn have increased their hostilities against Ukraine. And Ukraine, of course, is trying to increase their hostilities back at Russia. And you just got this big cluster of stuff going on. So, you know, again, I don't know if we're going to get out of this mess or not. It's very, very touchy. This is a 60-day ceasefire. That is all it is at this point in time. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Now, yes, gas prices are coming down by about 20 cents. It's still not anywhere near our pre-Iranian conflict pricing of $2.39 a gallon to 49 cents a gallon. But it is coming down. Also, you got to keep in mind our U.S. strategic oil reserves are very, very low. I mean, damn low. And it's going to take a long time to build up our strategic oil reserves because we have been tapping into them to keep those oil prices down. Where we go with this is going to be extremely interesting. But let's just hope that the ceasefire holds and that this thing will move through for a quick resolution. Now, let's talk about Donald Trump and his recent visit to the G7. Donald Trump has reportedly sparked confusion and online ridicule for his geography blunders regarding Iran and its borders. Iran and Qatar border claim. Trump drew widespread scrutiny after incorrectly telling Emir of Qatar that Qatar and Iran share a land border, stating, "With you could walk right across the borders."
They were being shot at just about as much as anybody, but you were a lot closer because you were right there. Literally, I could walk in a minute. Every other place I have to take a plane, but I can walk. So they were really on the line.
But in reality, the two countries are separated by 119 miles of water, better known as the Persian Gulf. Yeah. And it's also requiring a nearly 510-mile drive or a 2-hour direct flight. The media reported this as a recurring flub as he made a similar walkover claim to reporters on Air Force One. Iran and Venezuela mix-up also happened. Trump faced additional scrutiny during a live Oval Office cabinet meeting when he appeared to confuse Iran with Venezuela. And amid the ongoing U.S.-Israel war with Iran, Trump told reporters that he wasn't sure if the map of Iran would look the same after hostilities concluded. Probably not, he said, which sparked broad concerns from the New York Times about his administration's fuzzy approach to international concerns. So when Trump was at the G7 event, he looked very tired, very confused, and his speech was slurred, and he really didn't have any idea where the heck he was or where he's going. Now watch this brief clip.
Hello, my friend. Hello, my friend. How are you? How are you? I'm good.
Now, as you could see there, Trump is just totally lost and confused. Now, whether it was jet lag or whether his medication was kind of like maybe going down a little bit, whatever they're giving him to keep the guy, walking and talking as normal as they possibly can, I don't know. Now, another thing that happened at the G7 is a little bit of rift between Trump and Giorgia Meloni, who is the Italian prime minister. Trump cannot learn to keep his mouth shut. So the Italian government is pushing back against President Trump, with Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni accusing him of making up a story about her begging for a photo at the Group of Seven summit, and the country's top diplomatic canceling a visit to the United States in protest. I mean, she really got pissed off. I mean, I don't know what other words I can say, but she did. In an extraordinary rebuke, Meloni posted a video of the social platform X addressing reported statements attributed to Trump that claimed he indulged the Italian leader by holding a conversation with her, and that she begged for a picture. There is one thing he must remember: neither I nor Italy ever begged to anyone. Meloni said that in the video, speaking in Italian. She said she was astounded by Trump's comments, calling them completely fabricated. She said it's regrettable that Trump treats his enemies better than he treats allied nations. I do not know why the President of the United States behaves this way towards his allies, as she was going through an interpreter. It is certainly not the first time this has happened. She said, I can only say it is regrettable that he does not show the same determination against the enemies of the West and the United States against leadership with whom he actually proves to be much more accommodating. Now, moments before Meloni's post, Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani announced he was canceling his visit to the United States scheduled for the next week, saying Trump's comments about the Italian leader offended all of Italy, and I will not be going. The serious and offensive words of President Donald Trump towards Minister Giorgia Meloni offended all of Italy. So, anyway, he canceled his trips, and this was all broadcast all over Italy for what happened there. Donald Trump cannot learn to keep his mouth shut. That's his first problem. His second problem is the guy is so infatuated with himself that he still thinks that, women cannot keep their hands off of me. They love to be around me, and as he, of course, degrades women. I mean, you've seen how many times he's gone after the female press in the United States and calling them dumb, stupid, worthless. You don't know what you're talking about. Fake news. The guy, everything has to focus on him. He is focused on luxury, luxurious things, beauty, gold, lavish things, because it makes him look like he's a king, and it's sad, and it is no secret as you watch his stuff, and he's now 80 years old. His health is deteriorating before our very eyes. His coordination, his mindset, his physical appearance. They're literally having to prop this guy up. He's sitting down more. I mean, he's 80. I get it. As you become older and older, things like that happen. I know his MAGA base is going to say, well, he's getting older. What do you expect? He's doing really good. I mean, there's also other video at this G7 conference about, I don't know what was going on. Not only the lady I was just talking about, other people there, were not sitting close to him, but they were holding their noses. I don't know what was going on. And also, if you watch that previous clip I showed you, not one person is literally engaging in conversation with him. They are walking away from him. He is standing there all by himself. Nobody at the G7 summit, if they could help it, only talked to him when they had to. And that's the other bizarre thing that you saw going on there. So anyway, let's move on to other news, because we got to talk about Bill Pulte. Now, he made an unscheduled surprise arrival at the Office of Director of National Intelligence headquarters, starting his interim shift one day before he's actually supposed to be there, stunning the staff. And why was he there? He wants to get everybody's names, their positions, because he is going to go on a firing spree as directed by Donald Trump. And of course, this guy is taking over from the DNI Tulsi Gabbard, and he's just the interim guy. Keep that in mind. But he's been given full authority to go in there and shake things up. And that's scary as hell, because this guy has zero experience. He lacks background in national security measures. He does not hold any security clearances, but they are rushing that through to give him top secret security. He even asked if he could take a lot of those documents home with him and look them over. You can't take stuff out of a secured area, but that just shows the stupidity of this guy. He's also the same guy, as you know, because of experience in housing and mortgages and stuff. He went after top key Democrats because Trump is still on his revenge tour. Anybody that's ever done him wrong, said anything bad about him, he wants them to suffer. And this is a guy to do it. And he's also asked about, can I take the jets around? I got 3 homes in Florida. Can I do that? And take, how do I get back to my places? This guy's a clown, but, and nobody, even Republicans don't like him. But, here you go. So off we go. Now, moving on to other news that is just making my head scratch. The Trump administration has spent millions of dollars, as you're well aware of, to work on the reflecting pool, and now algae's coming up out of there. And also the paint is peeling, and we spent $10 million on this thing. And trying to reinvent it, and as Donald Trump wants to make the mall beautiful, he painted it American flag blue. The contract wasn't even bidded out; it went to one of his buddies because he said he can do that, and he wanted it looking nice before the 250th anniversary celebration, which is already around the corner. And they've had people in there cleaning it up. It is starting to get some of its color back, but this peeling paint is a mystery. And Donald Trump has blamed that peeling paint on vandalism. It can't be the company that laid it. They did a great job. We gave $10 million bid contract to them. So I think vandals are the ones that are making this paint peel up. So what does he do to enforce his reasoning? He has sent the National Guard out there to patrol things and start making arrests on people who may be picking up the paint as souvenirs or whatever. It's vandalism. That's what's really doing it. It can't be anything that I've done or my contractor did to make that paint peel. And or all the other chemicals that they're now pouring in there to get the algae cleaned up. Maybe some of those chemicals might be making the paint peel, but hell no, it's vandalism, according to Donald Trump. So there you go. That's what's really causing all this. So, as you're well aware of, last month he really boasted about the reflecting pool, and of course he's on other things to clean up too. So yeah, it's vandalism, ladies and gentlemen. That's what's really going on. And it's hopefully they'll get the pool back to where it's supposed to be, and it'll be all nice, pretty blue again for people, and we'll be able to move on, right? So he's also announced his 4th of July rally in Washington, D.C. to mark the 250th anniversary. So his Washington, D.C. 4th of July celebration. Again, all of this stuff is supposed to be non-political. It's supposed to be celebrating the United States of America. But the 4th of July events is going to be celebrating Donald J. Trump. That's what it's going to be about. It's going to be about him and him only. The 250th anniversary of the United States is really just a small, minuscule spot. He'll touch upon that. So, but it's basically about him and his speeches and how great he is and everything that he's done for the United States. It's going to have flyovers and fireworks at the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument in beautiful and safe Washington, D.C., as he says. We are rallying around all of them. It's a tribute to America. It'll be starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a huge celebration which will honor our country's people, spirit, strength, resolve, and triumphs, Trump wrote on his Truth social platform. And I really hope that that's what it is, and he doesn't spend too much time talking about himself, but, we don't know. We'll have to see what's going on. And speaking of the 250th anniversary celebration, I'm sure all of you heard about the UFC fight. I didn't watch it. I don't like to watch grown men walk around kicking and beating up each other and thinking that's cool. I don't think that's what America is all about, but that's what happened. And as you're well aware of, one of the highlights of this fight was this clown. Josh Hook, who won the fight. And from what I read, a lot of the stuff is scripted in these fights. The actual fight itself is supposed to be non-scripted. What they do there, it really is a fight, and whoever wins, wins, using, martial arts and everything else. But a lot of the other stuff is scripted. But what wasn't scripted was this Joker's remarks after the fight was over. Watch.
To Trump for having the balls to put some shit like this on. And if I'm going to say anything, and lastly, Michelle Obama is a man. Am I right, America?
So it took 7 federal agencies and $60 million to put this stage fight on to entertain an aging president and his MAGA base. Some 4,300 people watched in person, and about 8,000 watched close by in a fan zone. And here are the screaming fans. As you can tell, boy, are they having a good time, screaming and yelling. And it was sponsored by Bud Light, and they're drinking their beers, I'm sure, and stuff. What did happen that was kind of interesting is Stan Strickland, as you see, being escorted out here. He is not a MAGA supporter. In fact, he does not like Donald Trump. He was not invited, but he showed up anyway. Again, he is a very popular UFC fighter. However, as soon as they knew he was there, he was escorted right out. Buddy, you do not have permission to be here. And so he got a nice little escort out by the Secret Service. And again, it is so damn sad that somebody has to make a remark like they did about Michelle Obama. And one of the reasons Trump was not invited to Obama's unveiling of his new presidential sitter. I wouldn't invite the guy either if I had events like this. What a waste of money. I mean, seriously. This is what America's about, is two guys beating up each other because you've got your rednecks out there that want to go around and, yeah, well, look at that man, that's cool, beat the shit out of him, by God. Yeah. So later during the administration's summer-long festival to commemorate the signing of the Declaration of Independence, guess what else we're going to have, folks? We're going to have Indy cars racing around an ear-splitting extravaganza around the National Mall, home of the United States Capitol and the Washington and Lincoln Monuments. Let's have an Indy race, too. By God, beer and racing cars. Good old America, USA. All right, these are National Park Service monuments, folks. And we're going to have racing cars now go around our nation's capitals and our national parks. Yeah, let's have that. It's going to be administered by the National Park Service, and since Trump controls all of that, and these are all of his yes buddies, we're going to have an Indy race too. So UFC Freedom 250 is what it's going to be called, and the Freedom 250 Grand Prix. So, yeah, it's a long ways from the traditional missions and ethos and the advocates and career of what our national park employees are supposed to do to maintain and be, caretakers of our national monuments and our national parks. Now, let's have an Indy 500 race around the national parks. And even as employees off the record saying these events are inappropriate and disrespectful to the history and importance of the White House and the National Mall. And one guy who is retired, Jonathan Jarvis, made those comments, and he's a retired park ranger, and he's just absolutely disgusted that the president of the United States would allow this kind of crap to go on. But he thinks Donald Trump, again, he's catering to his MAGA base. He's trying to keep up his image. He's trying to make people think he is cooler than hell. And even Republicans are starting to look at this stuff and going, what the hell is going on here? A car race now? So, yeah, that's what we're going to have. And other news, let's talk about former Department of Homeland Security Chief of Staff Miles Taylor. Now, he revealed that Donald Trump wanted to trade Puerto Rico for Greenland. Yes, he did. And Taylor stated that Trump expressed hatred basically against the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico after the devastating 217 hurricane, describing Puerto Rico as a dirty country and its people are poor. And that's basically why Donald Trump really thinks that. You know, if you don't have money and you can't contribute to capitalism, what good are you? You know, I want countries that got money, minerals that I can dig up and make it all for myself and make money and profit off of it for myself and my family. That's what I want. So why don't you guys just take Puerto Rico and we'll take Greenland? How's that work out for you? Because they got a lot of minerals and I need minerals. I need money. I need to make profits. And so, so this is what Miles Taylor overheard, and he had an ear to the grindstone on that because he served as a senior DHS official in the Trump administration during its first term, and he publicly shared these details in 2020. Now, according to Taylor, the conversation occurred in 2018 prior to a disaster recovery trip to Puerto Rico in the wake of Hurricane Maria. Trump reportedly asked aides, could we swap Puerto Rico for Greenland? He justified the divestment by characterizing the island negatively and expressing the frustration over the federal funds being allocated for hurricane recovery. Taylor noted that these comments were not taken as a joke. Broader context and book reports similar accounts also have backed up his comments that Trump actually said that. And his new book detailed how Trump's fascination with acquiring Greenland was spread by outside advisors and viewed by the president as a major real estate deal. And of course, we have heard Trump publicly say that he wants Greenland and he actually considered taking it by military force. That's how bad he wants Greenland. And to him, Puerto Rico is a waste of territory, and he'd be happy to push that country off to, or that island nation off to anybody. Even though it's a U.S. territory, and they have tried several times to maybe become another star on our flag by joining the Union. And he's just done nothing but desecrated Puerto Rico and its people. So it's kind of sad where we have gone to that. And speaking of Puerto Rico, speaking of people who may not be as fortunate as rich billionaires, some other news that's going on. And this is the state of Tennessee. Now, I lived in Tennessee for 4 years in Cookeville. I literally love the state and its people there. I am not so much in love with its politics, but, you know, the people there will give you the shirt off their back. So, as far as the people and the area itself, I've had nothing but love for the state of Tennessee, but this here breaks my heart. Last week, the Tennessee Department of Health moved to require verification of immigration status of children enrolled in Children's Special Services, a critical safety net program, and to potentially share that information with federal immigration authorities or ICE. This policy puts immigrant children across Tennessee, including those with serious and life-threatening conditions such as cancer, spinal bifida, and other terminal illnesses at risk of losing access to life-saving medical care they rely on. Now, according to the Metro Department of Public Health officials, about 100 children without legal immigration status are at risk of losing ongoing medical coverage in central Tennessee. In response, Ann Kelsey, Senior Policy Analyst for the Disability Rights at the Young Center for Immigrant Children's Rights, released the following statement. Every child deserves to be cared for, protected, and given the chance to thrive, including children with significant disabilities, chronic health conditions, or life-threatening illnesses. Policies like this betray their responsibility by placing the most medically vulnerable children in harm's way and turning access to life-saving care into a source of fear. Tennessee officials are choosing to entangle health care with immigration enforcement, knowing it will force families into impossible decisions and deter children from receiving the treatment they need to live. And this is the Young Center. This is one of the centers that actually takes care of these children. Now, hundreds of immigrant children receiving medical care in the United States are facing possible deportation. These children are in the country legally, and many suffer from serious diseases, including cancer. So, Tennessee, shame on you. And I've been seeing some of these political ads popping up from Tennessee. And some of these Republicans have these ads that are just absolutely disgusting. And a lot of them talk about, you know, immigrants and immigration and illegal immigrants. And people who still support DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. This guy, screw them all, man. In the trash with them. Vote for me, by God. I'm a Trump-loving Republican, and if you vote for me, so vote for Tennessee. And it's very stupid, discouraging, dumb ads. I would be embarrassed to put out an ad like that, but that's what they're doing there in Tennessee, and I'm sure that people are just loving it. Unless you're white privilege and got millions of dollars, go to hell. That's really about what it boils down to. So a federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to restore signage and interpretive films back in our national parks. I don't know if you've been hearing about that, but this is quite interesting. The National Park Service has recently had quietly behind the scenes and without any knowledge from hardly anybody, including my home park, Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming, where I grew up in Jackson. They've been taking down stuff that has anything to do that talks about the white Americans invading the Native Americans' lands and Indian attacks, and other parks in other parts of the country have had to take down anything that talks about slavery, anything having to do with minority groups. Yeah, Trump had that crap all removed. And a federal judge has ordered them to put that stuff back up because it is part of our history. And if you don't like it or not, we need to keep our history intact, and people need to learn about our history. Trump does not like things that shows where white people were actually mean to Native Americans, or actually mean to the blacks, or actually mean to the LGBTQ community, or we are actually mean to Hispanics. No, we don't want anything about that. We don't want to talk about the Indian Wars back in the 1800s. We didn't do that. We didn't take away land from the Native Americans. Get rid of that stuff because that's terrible. So, yeah, this federal judge has said, you know what, that crap's got to go back up. It's not crap, but, it needs to go back up. Now, I found out all this information on Democracy Forward's website, and it is true. Trump was basically infusing censorship, and that's what the federal judge says. This is First Amendment rights, and the people have a right to know. So various signage with informative history and celebrations, including removal of reference to the Little Bighorn battle. That's right. Why did we have the Battle of the Little Bighorn? Because, the white people were ordered to go in there and kill all the Native Americans. That's why we had the Battle of the Little Bighorn. Who cares if it was their land first? We're going to take it. So, but you don't need to know about that. No. So, yeah. Anyway, we wanted that land, and it was, it's a national historic site between the Native Americans, and you need to know about that. So it's a beautiful place to visit, by the way. I've been up there. Also in Grand Teton National Park was one of the early guides. They had a sign about him, who was also involved in an Indian massacre, which it mentioned. And that was taken down. Another sign was talking about black slavery. That was taken down. Trump is trying to erase history, and that does not favor white privileged people. Sadly, you cannot bury the past and history of how white people treated blacks or Native Americans, nor should we censor the LGBTQ community, which was, there was a rainbow flag in one of the national parks celebrating that, and Trump said, take it down. And you can't mention Pride Month. Same thing with Juneteenth, we just had. Trump says that's not really a national holiday, although Congress voted that it was. Trump doesn't want to celebrate that anymore. He thinks that's ridiculous. We can celebrate 4th of July, but what's this Juneteenth crap? Why do we want to celebrate blacks? What have they ever done? He thinks that's DEI violations. Anyway, Trump is, he's tried to cancel that holiday several times, and Congress won't let him do it. So this is just more crap going on. Our national parks are supposed to be enjoyed by everybody, by every culture, no matter who you are, where you're from. The national parks is land that we can all celebrate and take advantage of. Now, speaking of national parks, if you're wondering where all this money is coming from, and I've talked about this in my last podcast, please watch it. Where are we getting all this money from the National Park Service that they're paying all these millions and millions, almost billions of dollars for all this stuff that Trump wants to celebrate and do? They're getting this money from robbing the entrance fees from the national parks. Now, the entrance fees to the national parks, the money from each national park that has the entry fees, that money is supposed to go back into that specific national park for infrastructure upgrades and to keep the campgrounds running for you people that love to visit Yellowstone and Grand Teton in the summer. Those entrance fees pay for those services, and they don't have it because Trump has ordered the Department of Interior to suck all that money out to pay for his little stuff that he wants to do in Washington, D.C. at his insistence. So a lot of these campgrounds are running on skeleton crews. Some of them aren't getting cleaned. The roads that need to be repaired and the buildings that need to be repaired, they're having a hell of a time doing it. And staffing has been critical at our national parks because there's no money, because Trump has taken it all into his little 250th celebration. That's more important than my national parks. And that's why I don't want those signs there and everything else, I don't like to go out to national parks. I get dirty and I don't like dirt on me. It's not, no. I want my gold stuff to look at. So, yeah. So there you go on that. So, what else has been going on is we need to talk about this young lady here. Yeah, Riley Gaines, who is a former collegiate swimmer who tied for fifth place with a transgender athlete, Leah Thomas, at the 2022 NCAA championship. That's where you may have seen her from. She has become kind of prominent. Since then, she has transitioned to a highly influential conservative activist and sports pundit, campaigning heavily against the inclusion of transgender women in women's sports. Some of her key events include activism and media career. She has traveled nationwide speaking at college campuses, lobbying politicians, and working as a conservative commentator to promote policies that limit women's sports exclusively to athletes assigned female at birth. She was involved in an NCAA's lawsuit. She was the lead plaintiff in a class action lawsuit against the NCAA, while a federal judge dismissed most of the plaintiff's claims. They did rule that their Title IX violation claim could move forward for discovery. And her advocacy has often sparked demonstrations outside where she has been speaking. In 2023, she alleged she was physically assaulted and ambushed by protesters while giving a speech at San Francisco State University. Now, why am I talking about all this? Well, a video has surfaced where when she's doing these podcasts, when she is doing speaking video conferences, she has been being fed a lot of lines of what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. And here's an example of what I'm talking about. Watch this clip.
Wait, tell me the pillars again. So it's pro-life.
So, First Amendment, Second Amendment, sanctity of life, and veteran and first responders.
Okay.
And
First, second. Yep. Cool.
Tell me the things I feel really strongly about again.
The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, our veterans. Feel very passionately about. Do you guys, if you're going to talk about, I mean, you hate to even call them political issues, but do you specifically say like the left or the right, or is that something you try to kind of refrain from?
I think in our marketing.
Like if I were to say something to the effect of like the left is still doubling down.
Yeah, you can say. From the beginning, so.
Okay, first, that's what I needed to figure out really quick, is when I first, I mean, definitely over a year though. I would say, can I just say that, like, around 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Riley Gaines, and I'm a very, very proud Patriot Mobile user, and I have been for about 2 years now.
Now, you can take that for whatever it's worth. You think that this young lady can speak her own mind, at least you hope she can, and she has something to say. It's her actual First Amendment right to say it. I support that. I may not agree with what you want to say, but I support 100% your right to say it. So, but when you've got somebody saying, okay, now I want you to say this. Now I want you to ask this question. Now I want you to talk about this. To me, that's that's almost like state-controlled media with somebody, okay, say this, okay. Anyway, I take it, like I said, with a grain of salt, however you want to look at that. But that's, to me, is kind of weird. Right? I'm sure you got a brain in your head. Just say what you want to say, okay? All right. As I close out this particular podcast, it wouldn't be complete by talking about Donald Trump's new Boeing 747-8 Air Force One jet. Yes, sirree, Bob. He just unveiled this late yesterday, and this is his jet that was gifted to him from the country of Qatar, and it's now going to be the new U.S. Air Force One. And there is that beautiful little jet for you. So it's valued at about $400 million. It's only 14 years old, and the interior features luxury finishes, and the exterior, of course, boasts the new red, white, gold, and navy blue paint scheme that Donald Trump wanted. A lot of the interior, some of the gold fittings and stuff was left intact. You do need to understand that this jet was totally stripped down to the bare bones before they worked on it, because the fact of the matter is they wanted to make sure that everything was operational and there were no bugs in it, since it did come from the Middle East and it was gifted. They wanted to make sure there was no things in there that could pick up conversations and things like that, which makes total sense. Now, what does not make total sense about this jet is the gift itself. A $400 million gift to the President of the United States is technically illegal. Trump didn't give a crap. It's his jet, and he wanted it, and he said you'd be stupid not to accept it. Congress, of course, raised their eyebrows and said, what? The other thing that is not cool is it cost about $1 billion to retrofit this jet as they were working on it in Texas. Now, it is not still quite operational. It has to go through some test flights. It will replace one of the aging Air Force Ones that was put into service in 1990. They will keep one and retire one. One will go to a museum. The other one will still continue to be used as a backup until once this jet here gets certified. And it is relatively new, so it can carry more weight. It can still fly further. It has a lot of nice amenities, including tan leather furnishings and artwork designed by the French firm Cabinet Alberto Pinto. The plane has Trump's new color scheme that he ordered, and it will join the Joint Air Force Base Andrews for a series of commissioning flights to test its mission, communications, and modifications before officially being deployed. It has all the latest new security and anti-defense stuff in it, which is secret. Nobody can talk about it, but they've upgraded all the communications and anti-defense equipment on it as well to protect the president. And Trump has right out stated, he says the President of the United States needs to fly in luxury, and this particular jet aircraft will allow the president to do that. It is a palace in the sky. Other countries have great, beautiful aircraft. We didn't have anything until this jet, and I am so glad to have it, because now I look damn important. And what's also in question, Boeing's running behind on getting the actual commissioned Air Force Ones that were supposed to be in service this year, and now they're thinking maybe 2028. So the question is when Trump gets out of office, what's going to happen to this jet? Is he going to keep it? He says he wants to keep it and put it down in his library, maybe still fly it around. He said he might consider just leaving it in the fleet. It costs $200,000 an hour to fly this thing. And, of course, I'm sure he says he's got the money to do it. But so they don't know what's going to really happen to it after he gets out of office. So that's still to be decided. Now, you, the taxpayer, are wondering, how the hell did we pay for this? Well, the Defense Department diverted hundreds of millions of dollars from the Sentinel Intercontinental Ballistic Missile Program, which is running behind as well, to retrofit this aircraft. It was officially received by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth as an unconditional donation for Qatar. Stripping and retrofitting the luxury jet into a secure military-grade Air Force One was classified As a separate black budget project, lawmakers and watchdogs revealed that the Pentagon transferred hundreds of millions of dollars from that delayed program and over-budget nuclear missile arsenal and moved it to get this aircraft done. It actually got done 2 months early. There's still a few minor details that the Department of Defense has to do to this jet, but since it's going through a testing program right now, they're going to fly it over the White House during the 2026 250th anniversary celebration. So it's going to have a flight over there so people can see it. But they shifted $934 million from that program over to get this rapid 10-month conversion of this jet done. Trump wanted this jet done and because he wanted to get into it. So there you go. And of course, they did say the shifting the money was excess money, and it did not really delay the ICBM program's progress. Of course, they're going to say that. So, like I said, this got done early because Trump wanted it done early. Since Trump says he has unconditional authority as President of the United States to do what he wants to do, and he doesn't need Congress's approval to do it, he does this stuff. And so far, Congress, since it's all Republican controlled, has just basically gave him his blessing. You do whatever the hell you want. You know, you want a jet you're not supposed to have as a gift, go ahead and get it done. We don't care. You want to go fight Iran, you go right ahead. We don't care. You want to do all these funny little things in the national parks in here in Washington, D.C., in our national monuments during our 250th anniversary, including Grand Rally racetracks and watch two grown men from the UFC have fights on the back south lawn of the White House. You go right ahead. That's cool. You want to paint the reflecting pool a dark blue? You go for it. You want to put an arch up? You go for it. This is the thing. Our entire Congress has been cut. I mean, there are Democrats trying to fight this stuff, but you know, as Trump pisses away more of our tax dollars for stuff like this and nobody blinks an eye, there you go. So anyway, I reported on it. I didn't make the decisions. I just let you know what's going on and take deep dives into this stuff. And if you got your comments, you go right ahead and comment. But by golly, here you go. Now we have a $1 billion flying new jet aircraft donated from the Middle East to Trump, and he's now got his little toy in the sky. Yeah. Anyway, that's our news for this week on this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to your comments. Until next time, you really try to have a good week. I'm Roy Garden. Take care.